So what happens when all of human history, every book in every library, every single document tucked away in every archive, just becomes fuel for AI? Well, we're right on the verge of a future where information is literally everywhere, but its source is nowhere to be found. A future of memory without origin. This quote from Leo S. Lowe at the University of Virginia Library, man, it just hits the nail on the head. Just think about it for a second. Imagine asking an AI a question and getting this perfect, brilliant answer, but you have absolutely no idea if it's true, where it came from, or what crucial context might be missing. That is the exact world we're talking about, and it's a future we really need to think about before we stumble into it.
And believe me, the pressure is on. Right now, tech companies are in a brand new kind of gold rush. But instead of pickaxes, they've got algorithms. And they're not digging for gold. They are mining our libraries, our archives, our museums. They see all of our unique cultural collections as raw material, as training data that they need to build the next generation of AI. But, just like any gold rush, this one comes with some pretty serious risks. And we're not just talking about data here. We're talking about the very bedrock of our shared cultural memory. So let's really dig into what's at stake when knowledge becomes untraceable.
Okay, so here's how it usually starts. A vendor will approach a library with this really attractive offer. They'll say, hey, we know you've got these huge backlogs of materials that need to be digitized. We'll fund it all for you. And, it sounds like a fantastic deal, a solution to a problem they've had for ages. But there's always a hidden cost. In exchange for that money, they ask for these broad, sweeping rights to use all of that newly digitized content to train their AI systems. And this is where you can really see how lopsided these deals are. For the AI company, the value just compounds. Our cultural materials improve their systems for years and years, driving new products, new features. But for the library, their return is fixed. It's a one-time payment, a single service that totally ignores the ongoing massive value being generated from their own collections. The problem gets even worse when every institution tries to handle this by themselves. When libraries negotiate one-on-one, vendors learn really quickly what weak terms they can get away with. And guess what? That weak agreement then becomes the new, lower standard for the next negotiation. It creates this race to the bottom, where the value of our shared cultural heritage just gets bargained away, piece by piece. So the crucial point, the thing we have to get right is this. These are two totally separate decisions. Digitization, that's about preservation and access. The institution controls the process, and it's all governed by rules we understand. But AI training, that's a use of the content to build a whole new system. It can mean losing control, losing traceability, and in a lot of cases, it's a decision you can't just undo. Funding for one should never ever automatically grant rights for the other. So if we're gonna make good decisions, we have to understand what these companies are actually asking for. It turns out using AI isn't just one thing. Oh no. It's a whole spectrum of activities, and each one carries a very different level of risk. So let's decode some of these requests. Okay, on the lowest risk end of the spectrum, you've got something called indexing and retrieval. Just think of this like a hyper-intelligent search engine. The AI scans the materials to find relevant information, and, this is the key part, it can cite its sources. Traceability is strong, and if you need to, you can pull the content right out of the index. Now, the next step up in risk is fine-tuning. This is where a hand-picked, curated set of materials is used to shape an AI model's behavior, maybe to teach it to be an expert in a specific area. But this is also where traceability starts to get really murky, and trying to reverse the process, it gets a lot more difficult. And that brings us to the highest risk activity of all, general model training. Here, our materials are literally absorbed into the model's core programming, into what they call its weights. Think of it like ingredients baked into a cake. Once they're in, the original content just dissolves. You can't pull a specific egg or a single grain of flour back out. It's practically impossible. And finally, there's a sneaky one, evaluation. A company might ask to test its model against your collection, just to see how well it performs. Sounds harmless, right? But the danger is that these evaluation datasets, well, they often get reused and repurposed, drifting into active training down the line, often without anyone signing a new agreement.
So this all sounds pretty daunting, doesn't it? It's a complex problem with incredibly high stakes. But here's the good news. We are not powerless here. There is a path forward. There is a clear rulebook we can use to navigate this future.
In response to these very challenges, the University of Virginia Library, led by Leo Lowe, created this really practical standard. It's called the UVA Archival AI Protocol. and it's designed specifically to protect unique cultural collections in this new age of AI. The entire protocol is built on one simple, powerful, and totally non-negotiable principle: no access without control. If letting an AI use archival material means losing the ability to control that material, then the answer has to be no. Simple as that.
Now, this core principle is supported by two foundational pillars. The first one is provenance. This is the absolute requirement that an AI system has to be able to show its work. It must trace its output back to the specific sources it used, which allows us to verify it and cite it. No black boxes allowed.
The second pillar is control. This just means the institution has to have the enforceable right to say stop. If the rules change, if a donor's wishes are at risk, or really for any reason at all, the library has to be able to remove its content and stop any future use. It's basically a permanent right to hit the off switch.
But a rulebook like this, it can't just work in a vacuum. Its real power isn't just in the rules themselves, it's in how we all use them. And this is where everyone has to act together.
See, when institutions stand together on this, they create a united front. It completely stops that race to the bottom, because vendors can no longer just pit one library against another to get the best deal. It aligns everyone inside an institution, from the lawyers to the archivists to the leadership. But most importantly, it protects our trust as the public by making sure that any AI using our shared history is held accountable.
Ultimately, by working together and adopting a shared set of principles like these, libraries and archives can do a lot more than just protect their own collections. They can actually shape the future. They can set a responsible, ethical standard for the entire AI industry, making sure our digital world is one of clear origins, not forgotten memories.
So, I'll just leave you with this one final thought. The next time an AI gives you an answer that might shape what you believe or how you see the world, just ask yourself this: shouldn't I have the absolute right to know where that information came from?